All right, everyone. I'm so glad to begin and to welcome you to what I know is extraordinary time and I hope is extraordinary vision. That is what is called for today and what I'm privileged to explore with you here at Ars Electronica Global. I am going to share my screen shortly. But before I do, just want to share my part of the world. I'm zooming in from my home in New York, and I am here on behalf of Leonardo, the International Society of Art, Science, and Technology, to celebrate with Ars Electronica a new digital deal and explore how that might invite a new creativity agenda. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and thank our hosts and our friends and family from the Leosphere who are here as part of Ars Electronica New Digital Deal 2021 and the Leonardo Gardens, the Leonardo Laser Gardens. So. Thank you for your patience. What I'm most excited about in talking with you here today with Leonardo is that I keep coming back to this imperative and invitation. I want us to think about this as an invitation to reimagine everything. That's truly what we do as arts-centered creators and creatives, and truly what the world is calling for. So I am delighted to be with you at Ars Electronica. I serve as the CEO of Leonardo and the executive director of Leonardo with Arizona State University. And it's terrific to have my ASU colleagues also participating with the Laser Tempe from Arizona State University that's also part of this wonderful event. So from Reimagining Everything, we are called on to share that this truly is an extraordinary time. And what we believe and we know is that extraordinary times call for extraordinary vision. What we're going to explore today is how that extraordinary vision may yield and reveal a new creativity agenda to apply a creativity lens for global transformation. This is our extension and expression of a new digital deal in a larger context of global social change. And we need this today more than ever. This truly is an extraordinary time. We know this not only from the unprecedented challenges that bring us together in isolation from all over the world as we continue to wrestle with the challenges of COVID-19, this pandemic that has touched everyone's lives. At the same time, we recognize that this pandemic is coinciding with synchronous exacerbating crises, creating a syndemic of political violence and volatility, economic inequity, social injustice, and systemic racism, and the existential threat created from climate crisis, from the intergovernmental panel on climate change that released its report recently, indicating that we're further along and faster than we had anticipated in making this planet uninhabitable for humankind. We know that we are beyond a wake-up call. The alarm bells are ringing. Our world is on fire. It is in drought and it is drowning. The complex problems of this time require creative solutions. It's overwhelming in any other way that we are wrestling with these questions. How can we possibly imagine what comes next? How can we possibly see how to navigate forward? It is simply overwhelming. And that's where we come in, because Leonardo brings fearless imagination to respond to the question of how do we navigate this terrain? How do we possibly find our way forward? Leonardo's creative pioneers and our friends from Ars Electronica imagine what comes next, and we envision how to navigate ahead. We do this by harnessing the creativity needed to reimagine our world. We harness the power of art and science. We harness the power of collaboration. And we harness the power of Leonardo. Fearless imagination allows us to unleash possibilities. And the extraordinary visionaries and change makers we're seeing and hearing from across Leonardo's work and world, across the offerings of Ars Electronica, help us reimagine everything. This is a collaborative movement. Leonardo galvanizes collective potential to reimagine systems, networks, and ideas. Our vision for Leonardo's impact is to transform systems, amplify networks, and incubate ideas. And what we mean by that is to incubate ideas by incubating enterprises, knowledge creation, generation, curation, dissemination that we share frequently through our publications and increasingly digital media. We also incubate ideas through new initiatives like Cryptech Incubator and Leo Labs. Cryptech Incubator is an initiative designed for, by, and with disabled artists and advocates to reimagine technology and digital solutions to live in our world and move through it differently, the way that we need now, the way that 1/7 of the world's population who identifies as disabled can teach the rest of the world. We incubate ideas through our partnership with Arizona State University in piloting Leo Labs, a series of innovative seminars online that apply an art science technology lens to global challenges, looking at our response to COVID, how we humanize digital culture, how to navigate chaos, and other pressing issues that define a global future. To amplify networks, we mean field building across the Leosphere, across the world of global creative communities. We mean amplifying networks by radical access, recognizing that radical access is creative practice. Examples of how we seek to do this with your partnership are rolling out later this year the Leonardo Liftoff platform to launch innovative visionary enterprises, partnerships, projects, and initiatives that are forwarded to us from within our community, from the larger community attending Ars Electronica, and other partners, including ASU and our friends from MIT Press. We amplify networks through our laser network. Leonardo's laser network, which is featured throughout Ars Electronica, is now in 4 cities hosted around the world to bring together cutting edge, mind-bending, mind-blowing thinkers and doers from arts, science, and technology, addressing global change through their creative inquiry and practice. We want to build on the amplification of our network of networks that showcase and share the ideas incubated from our community so that we can transform systems. We look to transform systems through cross-sector collaboration, the creative economy, building lifelong learning, workforce development. Some examples of how we're exploring that cut across these systems so that we can build on creative economy innovations to incentivize industry with a Leonardo index of creativity, like a LEAD index that, incentivized industry to become environmentally conscious and conscientious and responsible. We are looking to incentivize industry and institutions to embed creativity across their practices as an example of transformed systems of work, of practice, of generating value. Embedding artists through a creative core in every aspect of society, of economy, is another way that we will transform systems. Experimenting with a Leonardo core to build on experiences we've seen in other arena, from Peace Corps to smaller test cases of creative core in California, we can explore how embedding an artist, an art-centered scientist, an art-centered entrepreneur in our laboratories and our corporations and our policy centers transforms the systems that we want to impact. This is our vision for launching a new creativity agenda. So a couple years ago, my fourth book came out, A New Global Agenda, and it experimented with how we might consider priorities, practices, and pathways of the international community to build a more vibrant, just, and vital a global future. We now want to build on that global agenda with a focus on a creativity agenda that offers a creativity lens for global transformation. By creating a creativity lens, we imagine that we can humanize digital culture, deepen digital trust, develop the creative economy, and advance sustainable development. So what does a creative lens, creativity lens mean, and what might it do? The vision is that integrating diverse perspectives from arts, science, and technology offers a creativity lens that unleashes the best of human ingenuity and imagination. And by drawing from the creative world, the creative lens will reveal new ways of seeing, new ways to imagine systems, networks, and ideas. And this is the lens of Leonardo's network of networks. A creativity lens encourages inventiveness, cross-sector collaboration, and innovative strategies that we need to solve the complex problems of our time. It articulates new success factor criteria previously undervalued, overlooked, or overtly dismissed. A creativity lens builds on the model of a gender lens or a green or sustainability lens that precedes us. These previous examples of lenses, like a creativity lens, will enhance value, increase innovation, and improve collaboration. We've seen this play out with a gender lens applied to gender-based issues of equity, equality, access, and inclusion. When considered as a design principle, as an investment strategy, or as a filter of what we won't accept or what we insist on, we see more effective, abundant results from our efforts. Similarly, the sustainability lens that has fueled the sustainable investing world, which now comprises up to 30% of investments worldwide, is yielding results and returns beyond what traditional practices without that lens could provide. As a result, we know that investing in a creativity lens could examine the role of creativity embedded in initiatives, in investments, and in collaborations that transform our world. So applying a new creative agenda, a creativity agenda, to the digital deal, the new digital deal, will invite us to humanize digital culture. So during this pandemic, we have accelerated the change with which and the speed with which we are digitizing human culture, the way that we're digitizing human interaction, our human interface, the fact that we're talking to each other now through this screen, through this box, is one of the ways that we are digitizing our human experience. This impels and compels us to answer the call for the corollary. If we are digitizing human culture, we must also humanize digital culture. And to humanize digital culture requires cultivating digital trust. It requires bringing in that which is authentic, that which is trustworthy. We are seeing that the rise in digital platforms like TikTok, which is now the #1 app downloaded in the world, is something that people are responding to because it's unscripted. It's a very authentic, genuine way that people can connect, which we are craving as we have been disconnected physically. So to humanize digital culture involves bringing our humanity, involves bringing our creativity, so that we might embed technology and our digital culture with values of empathy, of compassion, of humor, of humility, and of hope. We know that this will require and lead to building and deepening digital trust. This is especially challenging during this period where there has been an erosion of trust and a healthy skepticism from misuse, abuse of the digital arena. So digital trust is increasingly questionable, but increasingly valuable in our rapidly digitized world. To explore how creative industries can help build digital trust, Arizona State University recently hosted a panel on building digital trust in education and work. We know from that discussion, one of our colleagues and friends from Leonardo's board, Dr. Timothy Summers, acknowledged that art practitioners are constantly trying to keep pace with the future of work by upskilling, reskilling, reinforcing, cultivating creative development. And this kind of practice is essential for the future of digital identity management systems, how we'll establish trust that can verify our humanity and our human experience through digital culture. So embedding artists is a way to embed digital trust builders into the system development as we're building those new digital platforms to humanize technology design protocols. Artists bring courage and creativity to these platforms, asking different questions and generating the trust and trustworthiness that comes with that broader scope of human identity and experience. We know that this also raises questions. How can we authenticate and safeguard digital identity? This morning's laser talk on the Arctic raised great questions about how our experience of a place and our awareness of it affect our identity, looking at Arctic identities. And as that changes, so does our sense of who we are over time. Shift, it evolves. how will we bring in a creative lens to navigate a constantly shifting digital landscape and avoid overwhelm and expose deepfake? We know that as we embed digital trust builders, the art-centered creatives, into a creative economy, this is one way that we can move forward with the digital trust and deepening that digital trust. Recently, I was pretty excited to learn that just this summer, the first ever G20 Rome Declaration was signed by culture ministers from governments who represent over 80% of the world's financial wealth. The G20 Declaration calls on governments whose clout financially is not only 4/5 of the world's GDP, but is catalytic in shifting the way we move resources in other parts of the world. The culture ministers of the G20 countries have called for deeper investments in the creative economy, in cultural industries, cultural heritage, cultural innovation, cultural tourism, and creative infrastructure. This is good news for building digital trust, and it's good news for building creative economy. So to build the creative economy, we know that we want to center culture in public policies and private portfolios to yield high impact returns. Why do we want to do this? Why is it so important to develop the creative economy? The creative economy gives us purpose, it builds capacity, and it requires collaboration, key touchstones of how we will rebuild and build forward. We know that creative economy resilience is a key driver in post-pandemic recovery, progress, well-being, and healing. We provide a boost for socioeconomic development and growth, so much so that 2021 was recognized by the UN as the International Year for Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. We know that development of creative enterprise is one of the largest on-ramps for women, for young people, and for people from underrepresented communities looking to enter or build up in the workforce. So the creative workforce is an essential tool for breaking down systemic injustice, racism, and other barriers. Advancing creative economy industries and cultural activity not only builds digital trust and humanizes digital culture, but it can create greater inclusion and respect for diversity, economic growth, and workforce development. So how big is the creative economy? Is it just us? Oh no, we are in good company and we are healthy and growing. The creative economy is estimated contributes $2.25 trillion to the global economy. And that's just the finances of it. Think of what the creative economy contributes to our social well-being, to our economic health and vibrancy, to our public health and systems. That we also employ 30 million people currently, most of whom are young and diverse and highly entrepreneurial. The G20 Declaration will only serve to steer this course for a new creativity agenda and future gatherings that are taking place next year with hosted by UNESCO, the World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development. So this is a critical moment to be building the creative economy. We know that the creatives, the art-centered innovators, are on the front line of the new economy and economic innovation. We see artists push and play with the boundaries in finance, workforce development, and digital platforms. And when we do, we reveal unexpected outcomes, and we prime the path for trustworthy digital-based economic systems. So in financial innovation, creative experiments with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, cryptocurrency, and blockchain upended the art world and expanded access, authenticated origination, and potentially protect artists' interests. We also paved the way for other industries experimenting and exploring with new platforms. Experiments with artists receiving universal base income, UBI, in launching a creative core contribute to creative workforce development and expansion, not only serving the creative economy, but having that catalytic effect for the larger global economy in which we operate and in which we thrive. Emerging digital platforms and immersive environments, such as those called on for Ars Electronica last year and this year, showcase net native, new media, and adapted art experiences that create new public spaces, a digital commons for what was previously restricted to exclusive and excluding physical spaces, now to restructure from analog to digital so that we can break down barriers, lay groundwork for new systems to shape the future of digital identity. This is the creative economy that is a priority of the creativity agenda. Finally, the creativity agenda is critical for advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, which of course were accepted in 2015 and enacted in 2016 with a 15-year trajectory, we're in the last 2/3, the final decade of goals to create a more sustainable status of what is become an endangered planetary home. We know that in looking at sustainability, I have thought that sustainability is a rather low bar. We might think of this as a baseline rather than an aspiration. What we may be building towards is a more regenerative world, borrowing from the lessons of our natural environment that is inherently regenerative, not just sustaining as business as usual, a plateau, rather regenerating and recycling its systems to be truly vibrant and vital. From our built environments, we are looking increasingly at regenerative systems as the way forward. This is inherently creative and calling on arts-centered creatives to steer that cross-sector development. The sustainability goals, the SDGs, are not a fixed and static framework, rather are more helpful as a roadmap that we can think of not as a fixed course, but as a tool and a guidepost that lead us to a world in which humankind can thrive with our other built and natural ecosystems. The creative lens augments that framework of sustainability to inject the hope and the possibility of regeneration. The creative lens augments the SDGs with new roots, new visualization, provocation, empathy, critical inquiry, and beauty. And we need these things to humanize and accelerate and advance the path we're on for sustainability, if not regeneration. A creativity lens is more than just a translation device to illustrate or communicate or popularize sustainability and regeneration. It allows us to better assess progress. It allows us to design strategies. It allows us to enjoy what it means to become more human and more humane, meaning more generous, more generative, and more genuine as a species. The vibrant creative sectors, our integrated arts practice with technology and science, align with the SDGs, providing real, qualitative, and quantifiable value in the main areas that the SDGs address. Many of these are the areas addressed by the art and ideas presented in Ars Electronica and throughout Leonardo's network of networks. Healthy people and planet, knowledge generation and dissemination, shared prosperity, work and enterprise development, social justice, equity, and access. While creativity intersects with all of the Sustainable Development Goals, the final goal, 17 of partnerships, is perhaps the most directly aligned with Leonardo and our partnerships across the Leosphere and across Ars Electronica, our partnership with MIT Press, and with Arizona State University. Working together with this community of creative individuals, institutions, and industries, our network of network mobilizes breakthrough ideas to inspire and implement initiatives of sustainability and regeneration. This is the new creativity agenda. Together, this allows us to articulate and apply a creativity lens, to convene cross-sector stakeholders and foster collaboration, to coordinate and enable partnerships and commitments that increase equity, access, and accountability, responsibility, and support. And together we can attract and share SDG-aligned creative economy resources, funding, finance, and infrastructure. We can't wait any longer. This is the moment for us to act. And for us to seize the moment, we must not only acknowledge the compelling existential crises that make this imperative, but also the unprecedented opportunity for collaboration that's anchored in these examples of collaboration with the UN SDGs framework, with the Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, with next year's UNESCO-hosted Mondia Cult, building on the G20 Declaration of Rome cultural ministers, and with Leonardo's growing partnership opportunities. As we expand our global reach, we are humbled to be at a moment of unprecedented growth in our 53-year-old history. Because of the rapidly shifting terrain and moving online, we experienced amazing growth in our digital footprint and experience, largely because of the participation of all of you. And we're not stopping here. There's so much more to come as we grow and build out our knowledge, ideas, and images through the articles that are downloaded, the pages that are viewed, reaching last year, unprecedented growth for the organization, over 750,000 page views of our community, and showcasing over 10,000 artists and scholars by 2020. We are now represented in over 135 countries, and we know that those are just the ones that are on our radar. But our network of networks, our larger radar, is those we don't yet know to come into our reach, those who we want to invite to teach us, to learn from, so that we can be building out a new creativity agenda together. We are calling on all of our friends through Ars Electronica to activate the Leosphere and join our growing global network. We can do that through Leonardo, through our Laser Talks network, our affiliate program, our partnership with ASU, our publications, and media with MIT Press, and our growing presence on social media as well. A new digital deal requires us to be bold and beautiful in crafting a new creativity agenda. This will become the emerging priority, the pathways, and the practices for the international community led by the creative community, because creativity for transformation is truly what the world needs today. I am so thankful to all of our friends for making this time together possible. I'm so thankful for all that I have yet to learn and discover from the creative world that you are sharing with us, and that we will continue to explore and build together with a new creativity agenda. I want to call your attention with this last slide to the QR code that links you to wonderful offerings that our colleagues have worked so hard to put together.